Frolo is the app that several thousand single parents say has been life-changing for them in the most profound way. If you're a single parent and want to connect with other single parents and open yourself up to an amazing support network and new experiences, then the Frolo app is the one for you. The Frolo app has two modes: community mode for meetups and holidays, guidance and support, chats, and discovery to make it easy to find like-minded local single parents near you. Dating mode is a mindful, safe, and respectful dating offering where everybody is there to date another single parent. All users on Frolo are verified, putting our user safety first always. The Frolo app is free to download and use, with the option to upgrade to premium for access to lots of additional premium features for an elevated experience, which makes it easier than ever to access the incredible connections and experiences you're looking for. To download Frolo, search for Frolo, Frolo, on the App or Google Play Store, or go to www.frolo.com for more info. We can't wait to see you on the app soon. Hi there, and welcome to Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Zoë Desmond, single parent and founder of Frolo, the Single Parent Community app. Frolo is all about empowering the single parent experience through friendship, community, and support. And this podcast brings you conversations with other single parents about their experiences and the challenges and rewards that go hand in hand with raising a child by yourself. There are so many different aspects to single parenting, and I think it's about time we put a more positive spin on the term single parent, because one thing is for sure, single parents are truly incredible. I hope you enjoy this episode of Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast. Bundle beds are the ultimate travel bed, founded by Lucy, who has the simple mission to make life easier. Whether you're off on a camping trip, sending your child off to a sleepover, heading to a festival, or just visiting friends and family, they are the perfect bed away from home. A bundle bed comes complete with a super comfy, self-inflating mattress, cozy duvet and comfy pillow, all wrapped up in a cozy outer layer. Say goodbye to deflating airbeds, frantically searching for spare bedding and grabbing cushions off the sofa. Just bring your bundle bed. Bundle beds are offering the Frolo community 10% off on their website using code FROLO10. Visit www.bundlebeds.com and get bundling. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Frolo podcast. Today I'm joined by Leon Wenham, who's a solo Black gay adopter of a 6-year-old boy. Leon, welcome to the Frolo podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I am good. It's lashing down rain here today. I don't know if it's the same for you. I think we're both in London.
Yeah, it's hideous. It's not good at all. I'm sitting there now dreading pickup time.
I know. Tell me about it. So how has lockdown been? Your little boy has been in schools since January, whereas my son went back there. We're in March now. So with the roadmap, he just went back on Monday. And I mentioned to you before we started recording that I've never seen so many happy, smiling faces of parents at drop off, and another mom suggesting we go and drink mimosas, which was very tempting. But your little guy has been in school since January. So that sounds like it's been great for both you and him.
Yeah, he has. I mean, I'm quite fortunate that he has been in school since January, and it's been amazing. And what I realised very quickly is how much his learning has improved. So his usual class size is around 30, whereas the few children that were in school since January was around 10. And so it really kind of hammers home how important it is for children to really have that bit more one-to-one from the teacher and work in an environment which isn't maybe so overwhelming. Because it's just improved, it's come on so much, and so I'm really proud of him. But yeah, it's been good. Lockdown in general, has been up and down, of course, like the same for everybody else. I think when you're a single parent with little support, it can be overwhelming at times. but we're a good little team, so we make it work.
Well, I can't wait to delve into all of that a bit more. But first, I'd love to start by going back a bit and understanding, when did the idea of adoption come into your head for the first time?
Yeah, so it was when I was around 18, which I know is quite young to think about something like that. And it literally popped into my head. I'm not sure what triggered it. I can't remember if I knew somebody who was adopted or whatever. But from the age of 18, I thought, I want to adopt. And I also always saw myself as a single adopter or a single parent. Don't ask me why, but that's just how I imagined it. And then over the last, I'd say 5 years is when I really started to put the wheels into motion, buying my house, renovating it to reflect a family home, and actually started the actual process in February 2018, where I literally picked up the phone and was like, I want to adopt. What do I do?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was approved the later that year. I was approved in December. So yeah.
Wow. And just kind of going back a bit, was it always, you say that you kind of always imagined you doing it as a single parent. Did it ever were there ever any relationships where you thought, oh, maybe we could do this together? Or was it scary, the idea of doing it alone?
It wasn't scary because it's something that I always planned and saw. I was dating someone for a couple of months just before I actually started the process, and it was quite interesting because have been alone for a very long time, and I met this person and I was just like, oh my God, perfect, like check, where have you been for my whole life? And it was just really nice to kind of finally meet someone that I connected with. And I think it was week 3 when we started seeing each other. I did actually go to an adoption open evening, and I said, just an FYI, I'm wanting to adopt. And, he was really supportive and stuff. That didn't really work out because he was a bit of a weirdo, but it was really good to put things into perspective because, for the first couple of months, I was thinking, should I maybe reconsider this adoption process thing? Should I maybe put it on the back burner? Should I see how it goes? Maybe we can do it together. It was all kind of all these thoughts that were going on, and I'm glad in the end that that relationship was kind of ended, and I was able to carry on doing something that I always wanted to do.
Did you know anyone else who had adopted at the time that you could kind of go to for guidance, reassurance, information?
Not initially. However, my social worker put me in touch with another single adopter, actually, who was really helpful. And there's another couple that I'd adopted, same-sex couple that I'd adopted, and I'd spoken to them, and I'd met another couple on some of the training that I did. So not initially, but throughout the process, I did come across a few other people in a similar situation.
So what is the process, if you can walk us through from start to finish?
Yes, you have to fill out an expression of interest form initially, which is basically that you're interested in adopting. And then you have a face-to-face meeting with a social worker. I think it was about an hour and a half, if I'm not mistaken, where they just kind of go through you as a person, the reasons why you want to adopt, a little bit about your family and support, but not too detailed at that stage. And then I think there's more called stage 1. So stage 1 is where you fill out a form. And my God, it is a very long and detailed, lengthy form. You have around 2 months to complete stage 1, so it gives you an idea of how big the form is. And it's everything about you, your family, past relationships, past addresses, every school you've been to, every place you've worked, every hospital you've been. Like literally, it's like some MI5 assessment. It's so intense. And then there's parts, as I said, that you have to fill out about your family, etc. So, once they receive that, then they then make an assessment of that, and then more questions may come up. You then have to provide references, so friends, family, and an employer have to give you a reference. And then stage 2, I believe you do some form of training as well. And then there's the home visit, medical. So it is super, super, super intense. And then towards the end is when you get approved as a prospective adoptive parent by a panel of around 8 people.
How long did it take to get to that point?
So I'd say I made the call in February 2018. I probably started the process maybe in the March, and then I was approved in December the same year. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's quite quick. It used to take years in days gone by, but I think they put something into place where the actual assessment
Is
bit needs to be done within around 6 to 7 months.
when you're approved, how long does it take to match you with a child?
I mean, how long is a piece of string? I think it depends on your requirements. So just to be
Okay.
clear, you can be very specific in terms of obviously, gender, race, sex, but also, whether they're able-bodied or if it's a disabled child or what type of background they're coming from. So, for
Okay.
example, you could say, like, I could handle, neglect, but maybe not sexual abuse or whatever. You can be quite specific. So I think depending on the child that you want, depends on how long you wait. So with me, I went for an older child, and also, as a lot of people know, Black and dual heritage children there's quite a lot of them in the care system, and Black and dual heritage parents are probably in the least demographic who are coming forward. So
Right.
there is a big disparity. So I think I got lucky in that way. Also, he was slightly older. He was 4 when I adopted him. Most people want a baby. So I think just those two things. I was approved as an adopter on the 7th of December 2018. Saw his profile on the 3rd of January 2019 online. And I think by the February I was matched. So pretty quick.
How did you feel when you saw his profile for the first time?
I knew. And they say to us in our training, it's almost like love at first sight. Like when you see your child, and it's really weird because we use this site called Link Maker, which is a secure site only for prospective adopters. You have to get it cleared by your social worker. You get a login. So when you see the children, it's almost like going through profiles online, and it's really important because a lot of adoptive parents say the same thing. You almost feel like once you approve, it's like, right, I need to find a child now. And it's almost like this pressure on yourself. So you're scrolling through all these pages, thinking, oh, that child's cute. And, can I see them in my family? It's a really weird, almost like a selection process.
I never knew that this is how it's worked before.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, you had like hard copy profiles. Almost like when you used to look at houses back in the day, you'd get like a brochure. So it'll be similar to that, but the world moves in modern times. So it's basically you're looking at profiles, and there was another little boy. I don't think I really discussed this publicly. Actually, there was another little boy that I saw, and he did actually look a little bit like me. And I just thought, okay, like this could work. And I read a little bit about him, and it sounded fun. But if I'm honest, I wasn't like my gut. I don't know what it was, but it just wasn't the same. And when I saw my son now, I was like, okay, he's my child. I just knew I could visualize him in my house. I could visualize him in my family's house with my friend. Like I physically could see it. It was crazy.
That's amazing. Yeah. So what was the first meeting like?
Again, I was very lucky with this process. So usually and it's quite interesting that people know this, usually you make your selection just based on a profile. You don't actually meet the child before you adopt them generally, which a lot of people don't realise. So there is something what's called introductions, which usually lasts anything from 5 days to 2 weeks, where the adopter would usually go and stay in a hotel close to the foster carer's home and basically almost do like a work experience, as it were. So you'd go there first thing in the morning before they wake up. When they wake up, you get them breakfast, give them a wash or a bath, whatever, play with them. So the foster carers almost show you like a handover, essentially. Yeah. So that's the first time you usually meet them. But because my son has had a few different moves and quite a complex background, we agreed to do a bump into meeting. So I went to meet his foster carer at a play centre. And it's really funny because I never met her before, obviously. And, I went to a play centre. You have to kind of set the picture. It was like in a very rural part of the country, 6'3" Black guy going into a play centre, minus a child. Yeah. And I was just like can I help you? Yeah, exactly. She's like, can I help you? I said, yeah, I'm just here to meet a friend. And she's like, okay, can you see your friend? I'm thinking, I don't actually know what she looks like, but I'm looking around, hoping that she would recognise me from a photo. She did, and we embraced. And just said, oh, there he is. And like he came over, and I just remember thinking, because he was just so small. I don't know what I was expecting, but I remember him just seeming so small and tiny. And he kind of looked at me, and I looked at him, and he says, "Do you want to play with me?" And I was like, okay. Like I didn't know if I was allowed to. I didn't really know what I didn't really know what the memo was, So I kind of looked at her, and the social worker was there as well, and she was like, go ahead. So he said, right, you've got to take your shoes off and come this way. And I thought, okay, bossy one, okay. And we hit it off, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, like, is this going to be my son? Like, it's such an abnormal feeling.
Yeah.
Because if you're, when you're pregnant as a couple or as a single, parent, you've got 9 months to get your head around it. You can feel the baby growing, and you can prepare. But I've got this 4-year-old Tasmanian devil running around me with my stiff back, trying to fit into all these shapes and all these small places in a place that.
Oh my God! My son is 4 now, so I'm very aware of of the 4-year-old's energy, and it's a lot.
And I must admit, in that hour that I was there, I thought, wow, can I really handle this every single day?
Tornado is what they're called.
Tornado. So
it's perfect.
Yeah, so after that, I kind of, I thought, 100% it was cemented. And then they agreed that I would have monthly FaceTime calls with him, which again is unheard of. So we're having kind of FaceTime calls every week. And then on the day that I went up to be approved as his dad, because there's 2 approvals. One approval is to be an adopter, and the other approval is to be the child's adoptive parent. So on the day that I was approved to be his adoptive parent, I went to the foster carer's home for dinner, and it was such an amazing feeling, because obviously I knew then that he was going to be mine, but he didn't know then. I remember opening the door, because he remembered me from the FaceTimes and the bump into. He just came running over like, Leon, and I was just like, oh my God, like it was almost like he knew without knowing. After that, probably a month or so, a couple of months later, introductions started, and I went up there for 10 days, and then his foster carer came down here for 10 days, and for 5 days, I did the reverse. And the rest is history. He's been here ever since.
So how long has he been with you? So that was early.
That was 2019. So it was April 2019 he moved in. 2 years this April.
Year. Wow. And how was his settling in period? How was your settling in period to being a dad?
Do you know what? He did, considering what he's been through, as I said, he did absolutely fantastic. First night he went down like a dream, no issues at all. There were a few power struggles. I think a child that's had various homes and various different carers, it can be quite tricky when it comes to boundaries, because I guess everywhere that he's lived, they've had different rules, I guess, or different ways of doing things. Yeah. So I inherited a child that maybe didn't have any boundaries in place for various different things. So, stuff like eating, meal times, which were tricky, wanting to stop playing, or say, for example, friends were here and, they have to go, and enough's enough. Like, I never wanted to stop. I wanted to carry on. So it was quite hard to, manage his emotions and expectations whilst making sure that my boundaries were in place. Because I think when you're in foster care, they don't really parent you. Like, I've been told, we're not here to parent them, we're here to make them happy and keep them safe and create happy memories, which I understand. But as a parent, you only want the best for your child, so naturally you're going to be more firm, So that was quite tricky initially, because I didn't want to kind of go, bulldozing and right, these are the rules. I didn't want to be like that, but I was very aware that he needed firm boundaries in place pretty quickly.
Those boundaries and that it's safety for a child.
100%. So, but yeah, he's been great. I mean, we've had some amazing times. Obviously, lockdown hasn't helped when it comes to those intense periods, but he's a great child, super resilient, and as I said, we make a good little team. And we just make it work, really.
That's amazing. And so I would love to know who has supported you throughout this, like in those days when you first became his dad. And, I think any parent understands that parenting is really hard, and any single parent will understand the additional pressures of not having someone else there to
hold the fort or share the emotional weight of things when it does get hard. But then for you to basically jump into that role to a 4-year-old, with no lead up or experience, like, what was your support system?
I had friends. Obviously, my family live in a different part of the country to me, most of them anyway. So, friends were there. I did make a few local friends, like few kind of friends at the nursery and play centres. So just those really, I guess, I had a really good relationship with my social worker, who was really helpful. And yeah, I had access to a lot of people on the phone. So if I ever needed to rant or to kind of have a little moan, then I had access to those people. But yeah, physical support of just a few friends who were local, and that was really helpful.
Does your son ask questions about, like, obviously he was 4 when he came to you and he's 6 now. How does that work? How do those conversations work?
Yeah, I mean, I let him lead them. I think it's really important for him to know that it's a safe space and we have got an open relationship in the sense of he can ask me questions and I'll answer them. I think in years gone by when children are adopted, it's almost this like taboo and dirty family secret that nobody really discussed, which doesn't help from an identity and an acceptance point of view, because I know a lot of adult adoptees who have grown up and really kind of, they couldn't dare ask a question about their life story. So he often asks questions, and we've got lots of photo albums from previous foster carers that he's been with. So ask, where's my mummy, or why have I not got a mummy? And I'll explain, well, you do have a mummy. Everybody has a mummy. Just unfortunately, she was unable to look after you properly and keep you safe as a baby. And the social workers thought it was really important to keep you safe and well and healthy. So they put you with some foster carers in the meantime until we could find you a forever home. So that's the kind of script that I stick to. As he's older, I will give more information depending on his age. But I just think now, to explain the chaos that he was born into, I think it's just very overwhelming for a young person to understand as well. But he gets it. He does get it.
That's great. And it's great to be able to have those open conversations with him. I grew up in Ireland, and I don't know if it was an Irish thing or if it was just the way things were and things are changing. But as you said, I think, there were people that I know growing up who were adopted, but it did feel like a taboo thing. Like, there's people that I wasn't even supposed to know who were adopted, but I can't imagine then the shame or the just stigma, that then people have to experience. It must be a very, very tricky thing if there isn't that openness.
I agree. I mean, I've spoken to people and they said, they always felt the love from their family, but then whenever their adopted mum would introduce them, look, oh, this is my daughter and this is my adopted daughter. And she said she was always the adopted daughter as opposed to these are my daughters,
Wow.
So language is very important. So again, she said she felt the love. She didn't feel like she was treated less favourably, but yet she would always be introduced as the adopted daughter as opposed to my daughter. Because, when you adopt, you legally are the child's parent, right? So naturally, this is just my daughter, Language is very, very important. I know, as I said, adult adoptees and things weren't discussed, and I know ones and things were discussed. So some people have a desire to really meet their birth family to, get those unanswered questions, where others grow up and have no desire. So yeah, it can be tricky to navigate, but I think as long as there's transparency and honesty and openness, then I think it will be a lot more of a smoother, experience for the adoptee.
Absolutely. It's all about breaking down the stigma, having open conversations, raising awareness. It's so powerful, and which is exactly what you're doing. So I'd love to hear about your book.
Yes, so I can't say too much, but basically I did write a book, and it is a book loosely based on our adoption journey, but I think it's a book which tells many different stories, and I think the main message is that everybody's different and that's okay. and it looks at different families. It looks at a little boy who's trying to make sense and understand his journey, his path. And what I like about the book is that the use of diverse characters and the use of language, again, very important. And I think it teaches parents and children empathy and really openness, which is something that I think there's not always enough of. So in terms of when it's out, I don't know, because I've got a fabulous agent at the moment who's in talks with a publisher. It is taking much longer than I anticipated. The world of publishing is quite slow, and obviously adding COVID to that as well, and lockdown and everything else. But I will definitely be letting you know when it's available for pre-order, when it's going to be released. But it's called You, Me, and Lots of Love.
I love the name.
Thank you.
I love it. And it's so great. It's so crucial to have these books and these resources for kids and parents that reflect. As a single parent, there's just not enough books or kids' TV programs that reflect different types of diverse one-parent families. There needs to be so much more of that, definitely. So it's fantastic that you've written this book, and for sure we will be spreading the word.
Well, thank you.
So what other ways can people find out about resources to help educate ourselves and our children around diversity?
I think that those conversations need to start from within the home. I mean, as a black man, as a black gay man, speaking about diversity and difference is something that I do and always do. But I know for a lot of people and parents, they avoid certain conversations because A, they may not know how to articulate it, or B, just might be a bit uncomfortable for them, or C, they may just think it doesn't really affect their family, so they don't have to speak about it. But all families and all parents need to normalize diversity. So I think those conversations really need to start from the home. Books are fantastic. There's lots of great places. The Round Table Books in Brixton is a really good one. They're available online as well. They've got a really
Round
Table Books.
Okay.
Yeah, they're available online. There's got a shop in Brixton, and there's another one on Instagram. I believe it's called Inclusive Storytime. Again, really great. And I think, books are the first point of reference to a lot of children, right? They see characters and faces, and so books would be a good one. Also thinking about diverse toys, I've got many female cousins, and I've got a sister, and, growing up, they all were into dolls, but I'm trying to remember if any of them had a black doll. I can't remember if they did.
I did as a child. That says a lot for an Irish household where there were two black people in Dublin when I was growing up. It's a lot more now, but
it's important. Even stuff like what you watch on TV. I mean, JoJo and Gran Gran is fab. Obviously, it's on CBeebies. So again, the first animation in the UK with the all black cast of characters, should I say? And just thinking about places that you go to, really diversifying your friendship groups as well. I've always had a really eclectic bunch of friends from kind of attitudes, personalities, and genders, etc. But I think really trying to make your children grow up in quite a rounded view of the world is really important. But I think, despite all outside resources, that has to start from in the home. Those conversations must take place. Children are never too young to understand about difference and diversity.
Yeah, completely agree. So, Leon, I'd love to know, what is the toughest part and the best part of your journey as a dad so far?
I think it's being a single parent and the resilience and the that's not the right word. Being a single parent, and I guess just it can be all encompassing at times, and it can be relentless. That's what I wanted to say. It can be relentless, and just it's a lot. Like this morning, I didn't really sleep well last night. I think I was up to around 3:45. I just couldn't sleep. And then I was up at 7. I was like, oh my God, I've got to get myself ready. I've got to get him ready. I've got to get him dressed, breakfast, go to school. Like, it seemed like a real big chore, but I just had to do it. you know, and there's no kind of plan B or whatever. I just had to crack on with it. So that's what I struggle with sometimes, just the never-endingness of being a single parent and a solo parent. The best thing, just the really happy memories that we create, and it could be something so silly and so small, and he might say something, or I might treat him with something. Like every now and again, he's like, if I'm making dinner and he's in the living room watching something on his tablet, I might pop him with a little treat and say, like, close your eyes, open your mouth, and you've got to guess what it is. And he loves that because he knows it's going to be something really nice. So let's say, like, close your eyes, like, oh, quick. You can see his face, you know, and he just loves it. Small, silly things like that. They just see him happy and hearing his little cackle. It's priceless, you know?
Yeah, that's so lovely. That's so lovely. I have the same moments as well. And I relate to that. And what have you learned about yourself?
That I'm not as patient as I thought. It would be the main one.
I relate to that also.
Yeah, I just think just trying to, you know, manage your emotions and just trying to really put yourself in a child's shoes. I think for a lot of parents, you know, they see themselves as, you know, I'm the parent, you're the child, and that's kind of it. And, you know, in certain elements, there definitely needs to be that line where the children get that. But I think just at times really putting yourself in the child's shoes and then really kind of empathizing and understanding and thinking how it must be from their point of view, especially a child that's had a difficult start to life. So I consciously do that quite often, like really just try to empathize and see things from his point of view and let him feel like he's heard as well. I know when I was younger, it was very much that, you know, as I said, I'm the parent, you're the child, that's it. Little explanation, very rigid and quite stern. And I think you need to give children a voice and allow them to use their voice, you know?
Absolutely.
It helps with confidence.
Definitely. And what are you most excited for in the future with your son?
I'm not rushing the years away at all because I love seeing him grow and develop. I'm just so curious to know what type of teenager he's going to be. Like, if I could just have like a little window and see how he will look when he's like 18 and his attitude and his personality. I'm just so curious. I think all that depends on these next few years, right? Because I think these are the crucial years from like 6 to like 10 or so that a child really kind of comes into their own personality wise. So that depends on me essentially. But yeah, I'm just curious to see what it's like as an 18-year-old young man. Like, how's his character going to be, you know, what's it going to be like? I'm just so curious, but I'm enjoying every moment.
Well, Leon, it sounds like you're doing an absolutely stellar job as your son's dad. You're a total inspiration, and he's very lucky to have such a loving and courageous dad.
Oh, thank you. I'm lucky to have him. I always say it's vice versa. I think I've spoken to a few adult adoptees, and they always say they were made to feel like they were lucky, or they were made to feel like they were super grateful, and that always resonates with me. So I always tell my son, actually, I'm super lucky that I'm your daddy, and I'm super grateful. So he really understands his importance in this as well.
Absolutely. I say the same to my son all the time. I do think these kids are, God, they're hard work, but, you know, such a blessing, you know, such a blessing. But Leon, thank you so much for being on today's podcast. It has been really, really lovely chatting with you, and a really lovely insight as well into the whole journey for you and the process. And I love keeping up with you and your journey. So please let us know when your book is out.
I will. And for anybody who wants to follow any more bits of my journey and me as a person, I'm on Instagram. I'm sure you're going to tag me when you put it up, but it's for those who are listening, it's lots of love. And it's almost just like a platform for parenting with a difference and adoption related stuff and just dad stuff and a bit of bants along the way.
Brilliant. And we will make sure that we tag you and we add all of the things we've spoken about to the show notes as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leon. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time, have a great week.
Bye, guys.
If you would like to connect with other single parents in your area, as well as a wider community of single parents, and access support and advice easily, download the Frolo app and join us. Otherwise, head to our website, www.frolo.com, and sign up to our newsletter to stay connected to us. All the links are in the show notes. To help us reach more single parents, it really helps us when you subscribe to this podcast and leave us a rating and review. So we would be really grateful if you could take a minute to do so. You've been listening to Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, have a great week.